What's going on, guys? Austin here with The Extra Point. Got my friend Kevin, and we are going to be going over a 2021 NBA All-Star Draft. We've got our players right here. I'm going to be on Team LeBron. Kevin's going to be drafting for Team Kevin. The starters are on the outside. We're going to pick from the pool of those first. LeBron got the highest amount of votes, so he gets to choose from the first starters. Durant gets to choose from the reserves first. And we are going to be playing drafting as though everyone is going to be healthy and playing. Are you ready for this, Kevin?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. So, Team LeBron, my first pick is somebody who I believe just recently took over the leading spot in the MVP conversation, Joel Embiid. This is Joel's, I believe it's fourth All-Star game appearance. I remember watching the end of the All-Star game last year. He got switched on to LeBron a lot, and he was kind of giving him the business. I think LeBron wants him on his team more than anybody else, and he wants him not on the other team more than anybody else.
Well, you took the guy I was going to take, but that's how it goes. All right, well, I am going to take Steph Curry for mine. You've obviously going to have inside advantage with Joel Embiid, so I'm going to have to just go on the far opposite end and take Steph Curry, who just wants to shoot it from 40 feet.
Man, could you imagine if Kevin Durant and Steph Curry ever played together?
Might be able to do something.
Probably be a pretty good team.
Probably would be.
All right, so you took Steph way sooner than I thought you would. To me, the All-Star game is all about effort and all about shooting right now. In a weird turn of events, I think I'm going to have to take Bradley Beal, who from the rest of these starters, I think he's going to be the one giving the most effort, and I think he's probably got the best outside shot of the rest of the starters.
Yep, I'm going to take Nikola Jokic. Basically, I got to have a big guy since, Durant, even though he's tall, is as skinny as they come. And, you got Embiid over there. So I got to have somebody. So I'll take Jokic. Only other real, true big guy we got here.
All right. So I've got a guard. I've got a center. I've got LeBron. I'm going to go with last year's All-Star Game MVP in Kawhi Leonard. I think that the closer we get to the end of the game, the more experience and defense will matter. But, on top of everything, he's also got a pretty good shot.
Well, I'm going to go Giannis. Just simple fact, he's clearly the best player left right now, and I think he'd be good for countering LeBron.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, like the two-time reigning MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, was the sixth player taken in the draft so far, but the way this game works, it's a little different. And I think you can tell who I'm gonna go with next. I'm gonna go with my second favorite player in the league over Mr. Flat Earther. I'm gonna take Luka Doncic, who I believe has the best chance to one day become, out of everybody in the entire current league, I believe he's got the best chance of becoming a top 10 player of all time.
I'm assuming excluding LeBron.
Yeah, obviously excluding LeBron.
Because he's already there, so that makes sense. Well, I guess you leave me with the Flat Earth Society. So, I mean...
Hey, the Flat Earthers won you a championship.
You know what? He's a great talent, and I still think Kyrie Irving is still, if you take pure talent, he's still, in my opinion, the best point guard in the NBA. The problem is he's just an idiot. It's just his problem. Spreading incense around the court and all that type of stuff. If he wasn't such a moron, he would easily be a top 10 NBA player without question.
That's an interesting take. The most talented point guard in the league. Whew. You got some pretty good talent there. You've got two amazing point guards, and you've got two freakishly talented, weird big guys. And then obviously, of course, Kevin Durant. So going into the reserves, you get the first pick of everyone in the reserves. If you'll notice, the guys on top a little bit more accomplished than the guys down at the bottom.
All right. Well, I'm gonna surprise you probably with this one.
Wait, let me guess. Domantas Sabonis.
No, Devin Booker.
Let's
For
go.
sure. Devin Booker.
Booker.
I think he will play really hard because he was not originally supposed to come to the All-Star game, which I think is erroneous. But
Who in the West would you have chosen above Devin Booker?
I would have definitely put him above Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, just because Devin Booker's on a winning team.
Shai's not in the Shai didn't come in from the West. Are you looking at Julius Randle?
Oh, it's Julius Randle. I'm sorry. They look the same to me. In that picture, at least. I would take him over Gobert. I don't think Gobert belongs in the All-Star game. He's 14 points, really.
Two-time Defensive Player of the Year, probably the most impactful defender in the entire NBA. I don't think that's very fair. Plus, it's only his second All-Star appearance. It's not like he's been in here, filling up the spot. Plus, he's on the number one team, and the number 2 defensive team as well.
Yeah, but Gobert he's good on defense, except unless, of course, he's guarding Joel Embiid. In that case,
40 burger.
Not so much.
All right, so
you think he was that good on defense?
So I am gonna go with a guy who I believe is gonna kind of mirror Devin Booker, somebody who's gonna be playing really hard, somebody with a chip on their shoulder. I've got Damian Lillard, somebody who, we talked about this earlier. He wasn't selected as a starter, but he kind of feels like he should have. It's between him and Luka Doncic. I think that Dame is going to try to turn this game into Dame time.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Good pick. I'll take Donovan Mitchell.
Right.
I'm just a big fan of his, and I also like how he called out the refs after getting ejected, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, there's been some pretty interesting ejections so far this year. Let's see. So I think Devin Booker got ejected for bouncing a ball to a ref.
Yeah, I watched that, and I was watching that game actually, and I watched that, and I was sitting there like, what?
Then I think it was last night against the Kings. Montrezl Harrell got ejected for after he drove to the bucket, made a shot, he yelled "and one," which, maybe other than "ball don't lie," that's like the most popular phrase you hear on a basketball court is, "and one," and they decided to kick him for that. No, but that's a good pick, Donovan Mitchell. I think, going with the theme of shooting and effort, the younger guys are going to be itching to put their name into this game, because, LeBron, what is this, his 17th All-Star game?
Yeah.
To him, it doesn't mean the same as, to somebody who, it's their first All-Star game. And for that reason, I'm going to go with somebody who is shooting about 60% from the field and 20 plus points per game in Zion Williamson.
Now that surprises me.
Zion has been on a tear. We've never seen somebody manhandle the league since Shaq and Charles Barkley did. Though, like, his physicality and his explosiveness, I mean, right now it's just on another level.
Yeah, Zion really has played well this season, and most importantly, he stayed healthy, which is the biggest thing for him. You know, a lot of people, myself included, I'm not real high on him just because I don't think he'll stay healthy. That's been my issue, but so far so good for him. I hope, obviously, I don't want him to get hurt or anything like that, but it's just it's a big concern. So I'm glad to see him stay healthy through the first part of the season. It's big for him, for sure. I'm gonna go with Ben Simmons.
Oh, I love Ben Simmons. I was hoping I could nab him in the later rounds.
No, I got to take him here. He's so good defensively and offensively. He can't shoot, which is still a problem, but he does do enough other things well that he's still a really good player. In spite of the fact, but I do respect the fact that he doesn't take them. He knows he sucks at it, so he just doesn't shoot them.
Yeah, so, right now, to me, when I see Ben Simmons, I see like a version of Rajon Rondo, but one that's like 5 inches taller, 6 inches taller. Somebody who they can't shoot very well, but they've got great instincts. They've got great defensive stances, and I mean he's pretty much a walking triple double. Like every game, you can pretty much pencil in 15 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists across the board. In my opinion, I think he's one of the four best point guards in the league. Maybe, just kind of depending on how some days I feel about, Chris Paul, Steph, or Dame. Sometimes I might get mad at them for, losing me a bet. But I love Ben Simmons. I'm going to go with somebody who I believe should have made the All-Star game last year, who made their first All-Star game this year, somebody who I think has a dunk contest trophy that they owe to Aaron Gordon. I'm going to go with Zach LaVine. The way that he's been shooting the ball and attacking the basket at an extremely efficient rate, I believe that, that allows him to kind of have the All-Star game, mentality, that kind of credibility of just shooting an effort. Plus, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder.
That's a good pick. Yeah, Zach LaVine has a lot of athletic talent, and he can shoot threes really well. It's just, and the Bulls are actually better than people thought they would be this year. It's.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he definitely deserves the All-Star game nod this year.
Yeah, they're part of that logjam that's, like one game away from being the 4th seed, but they're also one game away from being 13th.
Yeah, it's that Eastern Conference mediocrity.
It's incredibly average.
Yeah. So I'm going to go here. Let's see. I am going to go ahead and take my guy, Domantas Sabonis.
Someone who is technically a reserve for Kevin Durant in his second All-Star game appearance.
Yeah, it's pretty sad that he wasn't already an All-Star. And that Pacers team, besides him, is really, really bad.
Who would, out of the East, who would you have booted and to put in Domantas?
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Julius Randle needs to just go ahead and get out of there.
Hey, Julius Randle.
The other reason I didn't think I was like, that can't be Julius Randle.
Julius Randle is the only bright spot on a New York Knicks team that is at 500. I mean, the last time the Knicks had a record that was 500 or better, they probably had Carmelo Anthony on the team.
Well, that's true. And Julius, he's just not that good. Like, he's playing in New York. If you were playing in any other city in the Eastern Conference, he would not be an All-Star this season.
That is 100% true.
So just because it's the Knicks and people are so desperate for the Knicks to be good in New York, and they never are. Just people keep deluding themselves, saying, "Oh yeah, the Knicks are actually pretty good this season." No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not. I don't think they'll even make the playoffs. Just right. Julius Randle, just get him up out of here. Vucevic, I don't think is as good as Sabonis is either. Yeah, Sabonis he deserves to be in based on the fact that that Pacers team's terrible. And if you actually watch him play, you see how much better he makes some of these players that really aren't any good at all.
Speaking of players that make everybody around them better, I'm going to go with a guy who is currently on his 11th All-Star Game appearance and is the only player in the history of the NBA to make an All-Star Game with 4 different teams. My man, Chris Paul III. I am amazed at what he's doing right now. I remember when he was on the Clippers and the narrative was Chris Paul's a great player, but nobody likes to play with him. And, he's bad in the locker room. He doesn't get along well with players. And think about what has happened since he left the Clippers. Blake Griffin is a nobody. DeAndre Jordan is a nobody. And Chris Paul is 5 years older than both of them. He went to the Rockets, took them as far as they've been since Hakeem Olajuwon. He gets hurt. They completely fall apart. He goes to an OKC team that traded for him in hopes of getting back draft compensation. They were taking Chris Paul because he was supposed to be old and they were going to rebuild. He dragged that team to the playoffs and taught Shai Gilgeous-Alexander how to win. And now he's on a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in like 15 years. And all of a sudden, they're second in the Western Conference. He goes up head-to-head against LeBron James, loses his team's highest scorer, Devin Booker, in the third quarter. Doesn't matter. Still beats the Lakers, the defending champs. I love Chris Paul.
That's a great pick. Yeah. And I'd have picked him earlier, to be honest, but I've already got, 2 short point guards and 1 tall point guard. So, I don't need any more point guards, but no, that's a good pick. I love Chris Paul. Every time he goes somewhere, they win. The team wins, no matter what. And everybody complains about him. Oh, he's a little mean. Well, you know what? People can learn to put their big boy pants on and actually, because they need to put up with it because he's going to make that team win. Maybe some of these people need to stop complaining about him and start listening to him.
Yep.
Because it seems like he knows what he's doing.
I think maybe one of the biggest travesties in NBA history is not allowing him to go team up with Kobe. I think we would have seen a run of basketball that would have been so intense and just so dominant that, we would still be talking about that era the way that we talk about Shaq and Kobe, Shaq and CP3, or Kobe and CP3 rather.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's one of the greatest what ifs in NBA history. I mean, the league hadn't stepped in and blocked that trade. It would have been something interesting to see. I would have loved to see that. All right, that leaves. All right, so my turn. I'm going to take Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum, baby goat.
Yeah, I just really like his game. He's become a very good outside shooter. And, at about 6'9" or so, he play multiple positions on offense as well as defense. And, he's just a knockdown shooter from the outside now. And he just seems to get better and better every year. And I just really like him. I think that he's going to be a real top echelon player here in the next year or two.
All right. I'm going to go with the man that you were just disrespecting about 5 minutes ago, Julius Randle. I think that he's, with his amazingly just incredibly improved outside shot, with his intensity and I believe his willingness to rebound, I think he could really end up turning a lot of possessions, a lot of defensive possessions into fast break points.
Yeah, I think Julius Randle isn't very good and shouldn't even be in here.
He's been shooting amazing. I mean, I think he's over 40% from three this season.
I don't think it'll last. I think the sample size is small enough with the delayed start this year that that's going to drop.
I don't need it to last. I just need it to work this weekend.
I'll get ready for 2 for 9 from 3 from him. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to take playoff P.
I definitely thought that Paul George would have been the last, one of the last players taken.
Paul George is a good player, a really good player, until it's a big moment in a big game. Then all of a sudden, playoff P shows up and he's hitting the side of the backboard. So
the last time that Paul George, honestly, I think he should have stayed in Indiana. Because Paul George in Indiana, although he wasn't putting up the same numbers and he wasn't having the same conversation around him, he had a good thing going for him. And he wasn't considered a playoff choker back in Indiana. I mean, he and LeBron had battles, and although he never actually, guarded LeBron to, shut him down or anything like that, he often took the heat to, game 6, 7. And it wasn't until that first year in OKC when he said, "Guess you guys haven't met playoff P," that everything just went downhill from there.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, and you're right. He should have stayed in Indiana. A lot of these players now, they want to leave and go different places. And sometimes, that can make some sense. But a lot of times I think a lot of these players are better off staying where they're at. Stay home, let your team figure out some stuff. But, what's he going to do now? Now he's stuck in LA and he is kind of a joke. But he actually has been surprisingly good this season. If you just look at his stats, he's been really good.
He's consistently an excellent regular season player. I mean, back when he was in OKC the second season, I believe he came in third in the MVP voting.
Yeah, that's true. And he was great. And the problem is I would want Paul George on my team until there's about 6 to 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Then I wouldn't even put him on the bench. I'd send him to the locker room. Like, you, sir, are done. Have a good night.
All right. So I think that for me, I think the best options left are those two guys at the top, the beard and the brow. And since we don't really need any more guard play, I think I'm going to have to go with Anthony Davis. I think that, obviously, like if he were playing, his size and length definitely would help when it comes to whatever kind of defense they're going to play in the last 30 seconds of the game. And he still has the ability to shoot the ball relatively well. I believe he's around 38% from three. Maybe it's a little less, but for someone his size, that's pretty good because they don't often get guarded on the 3-point line.
Speaking of big men who can shoot, I'm going to take Vucevic.
I believe this is his second All-Star appearance.
Second or third, yeah. He's just, he's just one of those, good, solid players, really good offensive player, good rebounder, and, otherwise you can always use a good stretch big.
Right. And honestly, I think that if he were in a bigger market, he might get a little bit more love. And it's kind of weird to, when you play in a city that has Disney World, you'd think there'd be a bigger market for fans, but it's weird how small market Orlando is.
The problem too is that the people that live in that area, nobody's from Orlando. So, when you move somewhere, for instance, I've lived in, I think, 6 or 7 different states, and I've been a Cavaliers fan the entire time.
I'm so sorry.
Well, it was good for a while. It was good for 1 year when we got the shirt, but other than that, no, it's been rough this season. But no, that's the thing. When you're playing a city like Orlando, a lot of those people are retirees who moved down there. A lot of older people live down there. And, like my dad now, he's retired. He's moved down in the South to Tennessee, and he's still a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. His fandom doesn't change based on where he lives. So if you have a lot of transplants like you do in Orlando, it becomes hard to build a fan base. Those people are already fans of the teams where they previously lived.
I get you. Man, so for my next pick, I'm trying to play a little 3D chess here, because I've already got Joel Embiid, I've already got Anthony Davis, and even though I like Rudy Gobert, I don't think I have room for him on the floor. So I think I'm gonna go with Jaylen Brown, because I think you might be more likely to pick James Harden. I think you might be more likely to pick Rudy Gobert over James Harden than you would Rudy Gobert over Jaylen Brown.
Well, you're right. I'm taking Rudy Gobert for the simple sake that I don't want the whole rest of the team to be miserable and stand there and fall asleep while James Harden bounces the ball between his legs 76 times.
There we go. And I'm left with dribble, 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 dribble. What?
James, right, and the rest of your team just quit.
So would you have ended up taking Jaylen Brown?
Oh yeah. I just hate Gobert.
Oh right, let's go.
So no, I'm and plus like James Harden, I mean, good luck to you with that. I mean, everybody hates James Harden.
All right, take a look at your team. How do you feel about it, Kevin?
Well, I'm pretty happy. Got a couple small guys in the starting lineup. Although you kind of stuck me with the flat earther. But yeah, I basically got 2 short guys and 3 guys who are 6'11" or taller.
What do you think, just for your starters, what do you think your offensive plan of attack and your defensive game plan is going to be? Let's pretend that people actually play defense in the All-Star game.
Yeah, if they're giving out, last year I think they gave pretty good effort in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I really do think that. So if they do that again, the guys I want out there, you're going to have, it's going to be, I would probably want to, the thing is, where do you put Steph and Kyrie? That's the problem. I'd probably stick Steph on Bradley Beal, and then, you gotta, I guess, go with Kyrie on probably Kawhi.
Oof, I was thinking Luka, but
no, because the problem is you got to think I don't think Kawhi, because Luka will go down and post up and get physical with people. Kawhi, although he's physically capable, doesn't like to.
Mm-hmm.
Luka is, for someone who plays on the perimeter, people forget because you see all the Euro steps and you see the finesse. He is 6'9", and he is built solid.
He is. I think he's like 6'8", 240, 235, something like that. He's a big boy.
But he's heavier than that. He looks like he's about 250 to 260 to me, and he looks like he lifts weights a lot. Even though there's not that muscle definition there, you can tell he's built solid. And so, you don't want to give up a bunch of weight to somebody like that. So I would probably try and stick them out there. And then, you got Giannis, who's an excellent defensive player. He's probably stick him on LeBron. Well, yeah, probably stick him on LeBron and Durant for Luka, hoping the length will bother him some. And then obviously the two centers are going to be matched up on each other, which I don't think Jokic can stop Embiid very much. But
Evidently, nobody can. If Rudy Gobert can't, it's over.
No, and Joel Embiid this season is in really good shape this year, and I tell you, he looks really, really good.
I mean, he's the league MVP. He's about to become the first big man to win league MVP, the first true big to win league MVP since Tim Duncan, and the first center since Shaq to win.
You have no idea how happy it makes me to actually see a center have some level of dominance in the NBA again. Because, when I was a kid, I loved watching Shaq. He was so fun. It was so fun for me to just watch this big, humongous monster of a man just throw everyone out of his way and slam the ball.
Yeah, no, it's always a fun thing to see. And Joel Embiid truly is a product of multiple, pulling his game from multiple people. Like, you look at him, he's got like the body build of a Hakeem, but he's got the shooting skills of somebody that can play a little further out, even better than a Tim Duncan, almost like a Patrick Ewing. Like, yeah, he's got a serious jump shot. This season, he's shooting 41% from the 3-point line. And although he's not taking a lot of shots, that's a ridiculously efficient center shooting 3-point. And he's got handles like he's a Kristaps Porzingis, and obviously he's a lot heavier than that, but that allows him to play defense like a David Robinson. I mean, he's just all over the place.
Yeah, he that's a good comparison to him is a Patrick Ewing, because that's who he reminds me of a lot. Big, strong, physical, and yet can also shoot from outside just like Ewing could. And I got to tell you, it's really great to see centers like him, and then Jokic too, who I think is closer to Dirk Nowitzki than he is, a more back to the basket center. But he also he can play down the post. He's got some serious post moves, and this season he's really, I don't know if he's improved a lot. I think it's more his attitude. His attitude is more trying to dominate instead of this year. I think it's all up here for him. He's decided he's really gonna impose his will on his opponent.
And I think that's a Coach Rivers thing right there.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. So I got to love to see the centers coming back.
Yeah. So with my plan, I think obviously I don't have a true point guard on my starting five because I gave you Kyrie. So I think I'm gonna do a tag team of LeBron and Luka bringing the ball up the court. It'll probably be Luka a little bit more. And then obviously, I'm going to have, Bradley Beal on the wing shooting. Kawhi and LeBron going to be on the outsides as like those kind of slasher mid-range shooting wings. And then, clearly Joel Embiid is going to be in the middle. I think that would be the offensive attack where there's definitely going to be enough space to get Embiid a couple isolations. And I mean, he's going to eat with that. Defensively, I think that I would end up putting LeBron on Nikola Jokic so I can put Embiid on Giannis. I'm probably going to put Kawhi on KD. Obviously, I think that's the best matchup for your best player. And then between Bradley Beal and Luka Doncic, Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving, we're just going to have four amazing offensive guys that don't really play defense very well. Bradley Beal is okay, so I might try to put him on Steph, because Kyrie, I think, is going to have a higher propensity to go to the basket. So I like Luka more for that, but there's going to be a lot of shooting with these these defensive guards.
I've got three guys who I consider to be, elite shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yes, and Luka is going to have a hard time staying in front of anybody. That's his problem. He's an excellent offensive player, but defensively, he can. I think there's no one there that he. And it's things all-star games. So you're not going to have a weak player in there to just say, oh yeah, you can just go sit there in the corner and guard that guy.
No.
So there's nowhere to hide him. So that's the thing is, he can't stay in front of Kyrie or Steph, and definitely not KD. I would like to see Jokic guarded by LeBron. Obviously, like LeBron is built well, but he is giving up serious height and some weight too to Jokic.
Is he giving up weight though?
I mean, Jokic has got it. Well,
Jokic is a little pudgy, but he's definitely skinnier than he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'd say Jokic is probably around 270-ish.
And I mean, you look at LeBron, he looks like he's 265 to me.
I'd put him about 250. I think he's lighter than he has been in previous years.
Do you think that LeBron is lighter than Luka?
He might be. He actually might be, because LeBron, that's the thing. LeBron keeps himself in phenomenal shape. We all know that, and he always has. But even in good shape, you can still put on or lose weight. Right. If you decide, hey, I'm gonna cut down some of the bulk a little bit here, because again, LeBron's trying to extend his career, and if you're trying to extend your career, you don't want 270 pounds crashing down on some old knees.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if Luka outweighed LeBron right now.
Something that's pretty cool with this year's All-Star team is when it comes to the starters. Just, you look across, you see LeBron, obviously, everybody knows, where he ranks all time. He's great, top 5 player of all time. But then, you've got 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. You've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 league MVPs outside of LeBron. You've got guys like, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, who do some of the most amazing things you've ever seen with the basketball. I think that when it comes to the starters this year, it's one of the best crops of all-star teams we've ever seen. But then when it comes to the reserves, other than that top line of, James Harden, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, and Chris Paul, there is so much young talent getting their first and second opportunity. It's amazing to see how many guys under the age of 25 are in this game.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because you're starting to see guys like LeBron. I know it seems like he's ageless at this point, but he's not gonna be great forever. Eventually, Father Time's gonna show up, and give him a tap on the shoulder, say, hey, "Come on, you're done." The same thing with Kevin Durant. So that's the thing. You're going to have to see some of these real young guys. Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Zion, Donovan Mitchell. Some of these younger guys, and you got to see Luka as well. Who takes that next step? Which one of the? Because a lot of they're all good players right now. That's the thing is the NBA has a lot of good players. And you want to see all those good young players. How many of them keep on going up?
How many of them are going to stay good?
Yeah. How many of them are going to go from good players to great players?
Yeah. Because I remember, with my Pistons, I remember when I saw Andre Drummond at the age of 23, get voted into his first All-Star game. And I'm like, this is it. We've got the future. Andre Drummond, it's here. Next thing you know, he only made one more in the next 7 years. And it was like, come on, it's, when it comes to, who ends up being the all-time great, it's like, okay, you were good, but then how many more times were you still good? Devin Booker, second All-Star game, same thing with Jason Tatum, same thing with Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons, this is his third. How many of those guys are going to retire with 9+? It's can we see that talent continue to cultivate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to see which one of those young guys will take the next step. Because who's going to replace guys like LeBron and Durant? Who's going to replace them when they're gone? Because you got to see. Will Luka maybe? I really like Jason Tatum. I hope he gets to that point. But that's the thing. You got to see which one of those young guys, which one, because throughout the league, guys, for us growing up, it was you had Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, Kobe,
LeBron,
Shaq,
Melo, Dwayne Wade, Shaq.
Yeah, that whole generation of players, and the only one of them that's left is LeBron. And that's the thing is you have guys like Kevin Durant came up, Kawhi Leonard, those Giannis, those are the guys that have to replace them.
Yeah, and when I look at the guys that aren't here, to me specifically, there's one team that I look to that's got quite a bit of talent not represented here, and that's the Miami Heat. I think of guys like Bam Adebayo. I think that he can someday, he'll be considered like, wow, like this is his 6th All-Star, 7th All-Star appearance. Jimmy Butler, I think he's at or below 30 years old. And then you've got, really young guys like Kendrick Nunn, who's putting up like 25 points a game. And, Duncan Robinson, who he's older, but I mean, he's still young in the league. And then obviously, what's Tyler Hero? He's been in and out of the lineup a lot this year, but I think that when you've got guys like that that can come up eventually, I think I look at specifically Miami, and I think the future of the league is in pretty good hands.
Yeah, I hope so. And the league seems to be right now to be filled with a lot of really good players. There aren't that many of the top echelon players right now, though. And so you're going to see, we're kind of at an awkward in-between stage right now of player generations. We're seeing some of the older guys are going on their way out. Guys like Carmelo, who was, an all-star every year, and now is, basically on his way out.
Mm-hmm.
He's still playing, but he obviously, if you watch him, that's not Melo.
It's not the same Melo.
It's not the same. You're getting that's different. We're at an awkward in between stage where you want to see what we got to see which one of these players can replace a LeBron. When he retires, or which one of these guys replaces Carmelo, guys like that. You got to see. Hopefully you have several of them that come up and show that they're great, that they can adequately replace them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, Giannis, there's still a lot of hope for him. I mean, with his playoff blunders, things kind of look a little shaky, but the way that he improved his game, he increased every single stat every single year up until between last year to this year. And I think, especially with guys like him and Simmons, like you got to get that shot. And once you get that, all of a sudden, you take that next step of, wow, if this guy really plays, for another like 11 years like this, we could talk about him being, as good as, say, Ben Simmons, like, wow, he's the closest thing we've ever seen to Magic Johnson. And, with Giannis, we've never really seen a guy like him. And that, that kind of shock and awe has kind of started to wear off the more that we see him, wow, can barely even make a conference finals.
Well, that's the thing is some guys, when they're young, Giannis is not as old as we often think that he is.
He's 26.
Exactly. It's not like he's 32. And plus sometimes, and sometimes in the playoffs, there are players who, have playoff blunders and choke and stuff until they don't. LeBron had some playoff blunders early in his career until all of a sudden he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize, I believe Michael Jordan was like 27 or 28 years old when he won his first title. And he went on to become, at the time of his retirement, unanimous greatest player of all time. And then with LeBron James, he made his first finals at 23, but then he didn't make it again for like another 4 years. And, again, it was like, I think it was like 26 years old was when he finally, 26, 27 years old was when he finally broke through and got that first title. And it's like, it's like the way that players are coming into the league younger and younger and younger, they don't have that same mentality and leadership that we normally associate with players in their fifth year, where, we look at a guy like Joel Embiid, like he's in his fifth year this year, but he still is so young. I mean, he's like 25 years old, and he's about to win the league MVP.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's the thing. LeBron, for instance, you go back and you look at his career, especially the 2011 finals, he was really bad and he choked a lot in the fourth quarters. And then all of a sudden the next season he didn't. And now, later in his career, early in his career, he was an unclutched player. He was a bit of a choker. And then, he worked, he improved. And now when you go back, you can look at how many, buzzer beating shots he's made in the second half of his career. I would consider him to be a clutch player now. I would not mind at all if I'm on a team and LeBron James is taking the last shot. I think he's going to make it. So this thing is, players, you can always get better. You don't have to stay the same from when you're 23 to when you're 27.
Mm-hmm.
And Joel Embiid this year, he's really improved. It is not unheard of at all. It used to be normal. It used to be too that the players came into the league older, and so yeah, in their third season they were really good. But in their third season they were 25. Now then you come in at 19, it's a little hard when you're 19 going up against guys who are, 29, 30 years old.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird dynamic. It used to be the only guys that came in straight from high school were the ones that, were completely different. Guys like Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard, obviously LeBron James. You can go further back. I think Moses Malone came right out of high school, but I mean it was pretty much basically, if you came out of high school, you were an all-time great, and if you came out of high school and you weren't, you had no chance. But now, I mean, guys like LaMelo Ball and Luka Doncic, who, they played their last high school age to college age years overseas. They're like, hey, you know what? I'm 20 years old. I've been playing professional basketball for 3 or 4 years. I think I'm ready to make the jump to the NBA. And it's working. And it's pretty great. And I love the idea that what it's going to do is it's going to provide an extremely long prime for most players. It might not be the same mental prime that most players need to have. I don't think Giannis has reached his mental prime yet. But he's been in his physical prime for 3-4 years now, and it's amazing to see that we're going to have long athletic primes in basketball moving forward.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's different, and plus, you also have to consider too, the advances in modern medicine. A torn ACL used to be a death sentence for your career. Now you see Zach LaVine tears his ACL, and he seems to be able to still jump just fine. So
yeah, now it's like a 1-year setback.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's just 9 months you're back to what you were before again. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. We have modern medicine that does help extend guys' career. Those hyperbaric chambers and whatever else LeBron spends millions of dollars a year on. Those weren't around back in the 1980s. It's not. And plus, when you have guys coming in that they're 19 years old, it's different versus when Larry Bird came into the league. He was 22 or 23.
Yeah, I think when Larry Bird came into the league, he was like 23 years old, spent, like 3 or 4 years. It was crazy because he was drafted by the Celtics, and then he played a whole another year in college. Obviously he had that famous duel with Magic Johnson in the tournament, in the finals. But it was just a different world back then. I mean, Larry Bird came into the league at the age that most guys now are in year 5 or 6. And so, pretty soon we're gonna start seeing these longevity records get broken, kind of the way that we've been seeing in the NFL for the last 20 years. With guys like Joe Montana, who I think he's got a career 48, maybe 38,000 passing yards. But up until Brady won his 5th, I mean, he was the GOAT. Mm-hmm. And then, but now it's Drew Brees is at what is he at, 82,000 passing yards?
Ridiculous.
He's already doubled the career stats of Joe Montana. And that's insane. And I think pretty soon the same thing is going to be happening to basketball. I believe that LeBron is going to break the all-time scoring record, but I don't think he's going to get caught for a long time. I don't think there's a player playing that can catch him other than Luka. But when it comes to all-time records, like, I mean, pretty soon, a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who's right now like 14th, I mean, he could end up being 25th by the time 2030 rolls around.
It's true. When you have guys, the only thing that I think could stop that is if they continue with the shortened seasons. And because the Players Association has talked about wanting to shorten the season, which, I don't think it'll happen because, the owners like the money.
They like the money.
And the players like the money too. Don't get me wrong. They also like that money too. So, and I do think LeBron will break Kareem's record, but you got to think Kareem played 4 years of college basketball at UCLA.
Yeah.
LeBron, he got to play those 4 years in the NBA.
Yeah, LeBron was 19 years old when I believe he turned 19 in the middle of his first season, and I believe Kareem turned 22 right before the start of his. So it's pretty different.
Exactly. That's the thing, and you can think, well, how many points would Kareem have scored in those years he played in college versus LeBron now? You see how many points he's going to be able to rack up. And if you took away his points from 18 to 21, he wouldn't even be close yet. But that's the thing. It's a different time now. And that's the interesting thing when you're looking back on how far things have come in the last 40 years.
Right. So just to remind everybody, this is the official teams of Team LeBron and Team Durant. We're gonna like to see later tonight how close these actually are to the real teams. It'd be pretty great if we could hit like 80%. Think like the players, but I want to thank you for doing this with me, Kevin. It was a lot of fun. I love doing these with you, and I appreciate every opportunity we get.
Of course, me too.
All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And you've got my Instagram and my Twitter, so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.